Perception of gender talk frequency, biases, and communication styles. Okay, let's do this. Because why not? Hello. Let's dive into a thought-provoking topic that's been weighing on my mind lately. I've noticed that I've been unfairly judged and labeled for discussing male-female dynamics, even when I honestly and actively try not to bring it up all that often. But the good news is, I stumbled upon some intriguing research that sheds light on the biases at play. So are you ready to explore this with me? Let's dive in. Discussions about male-female dynamics can be a sensitive topic, with different perspectives and experiences coming into play. It is not uncommon for one sex to feel that the other talks about the topic more frequently, with the perception often shaped by personal biases. This phenomenon has been studied and documented by researchers, and understanding it can help foster better communication and understanding between sexes. One reason why one sex may feel that the other talks about male-female dynamics more often is due to selective attention. This is the tendency to pay more attention to information that is relevant or important to us, while filtering out other information. For example, a woman who is interested in feminist issues may be more attuned to discussions about gender inequality, while a man who is not interested in such topics may not notice them as much. This can lead to the perception that the other sex talks about the topic more frequently. Another factor that can contribute to this perception is confirmation bias. This is the tendency to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs, while discounting information that contradicts them. For example, a man who believes that gender discrimination is not a significant issue may dismiss discussions about it as unnecessary or irrelevant. This can lead to the perception that the other sex talks about the topic more frequently, as they may be more likely to seek out and engage with information that supports their beliefs. Confirmation bias can also manifest in the form of preconceived notions about masculinity and misogyny, leading to a lack of attentiveness and overestimation of the frequency of a man's discussion on male-female dynamics. There is research that suggests that confirmation bias and stereotype threat can influence how people perceive and respond to discussions about gender dynamics. For example, a study published in the journal Sex Roles found that men who talked more about gender equality were perceived as less masculine and competent, and their opinions were less likely to be valued by both men and women. Similarly, a study published in the journal Psychology of Men and Masculinities found that men who expressed more egalitarian attitudes were seen as less likable and less attractive as romantic partners by women who held traditional gender role beliefs. These studies suggest that stereotypes and biases can play a role in how people perceive and respond to discussions about gender dynamics. Research has also shown that men and women often have different communication styles and preferences. For example, men may be more likely to engage in competitive conversations, while women may prioritize collaboration and connection. These differences can influence how men and women perceive and engage in discussions about male-female dynamics. Men may perceive conversations about gender issues as more confrontational or argumentative, while women may see them as an opportunity for connection and understanding. A study conducted by researchers at the University of California, Santa Barbara, found that men tend to underestimate the frequency of discussions about gender issues, while women tend to overestimate it. The researchers suggest that this may be due to differences in how men and women perceive and process social information. In order to foster better communication and understanding between genders, it is important to recognize and acknowledge the role that personal biases and perceptions can play in discussions about male-female dynamics. By being aware of our own biases and taking the time to listen and understand the perspectives of others, we can build stronger and more meaningful relationships. To summarize, the perception that one sex talks about male-female dynamics more often than the other is often shaped by personal biases and differences in communication styles. Understanding these factors can help foster better communication and understanding between genders. As we continue to have discussions about gender issues, it is important to approach them with an open mind and a willingness to listen and learn from others. One study that provides further insight into the topic is Perceived Frequency of Gender Discrimination: Influence of Demographic Variables, Threat to Masculinity, and Gender Role Ideology by Glick and colleagues, 2004. In this study, participants were asked to estimate the frequency of gender discrimination in different contexts, such as the workplace, schools, and social settings. The results showed that men tended to perceive gender discrimination as less frequent than women did, and that this difference was particularly pronounced for men who were high in traditional masculinity and endorsed traditional gender role beliefs. The study suggests that men's perceptions of gender discrimination may be influenced by factors such as their own gender role beliefs and concerns about their masculinity. Another study that sheds light on this topic is The Myth of the Gendered Brain: Sex Differences in Aptitude, Behavior, and Cognition by Fine, 2010. In this book, Fine argues that many of the supposed differences between male and female brains are exaggerated or unsupported by scientific evidence. She suggests that cultural and societal factors play a larger role in shaping gender differences than biological factors, and that this can lead to biases and misconceptions in discussions about male-female dynamics. In order to address the perception that one sex talks about male-female dynamics more often than the other, it is important to create a culture of open and respectful communication. This can involve actively listening to the perspectives of others, acknowledging and challenging our own biases, and being willing to engage in constructive dialogue and debate. It can also involve creating safe and supportive spaces for discussions about gender issues, where individuals can share their experiences and perspectives without fear of judgment or ridicule. The perception that one sex talks about male-female dynamics more often than the other is a complex issue that is influenced by personal biases, communication styles, and societal factors. By recognizing and addressing these factors, we can foster better communication and understanding between genders, and create a more equitable and inclusive society. Why do people inherently avoid this topic or feel uncomfortable discussing this topic? There are several reasons why people may avoid discussing topics related to gender and male-female dynamics. One factor is the potential for discomfort or conflict that can arise from discussing sensitive issues, particularly in mixed gender groups. Another factor is the fear of being perceived as biased or insensitive, which can lead individuals to avoid discussing these topics altogether. Research suggests that social norms and gender roles can also play a role in shaping attitudes towards gender-related topics. For example, men may be socialized to avoid topics that are perceived as feminine or emotional, while women may be socialized to downplay their own experiences and defer to male perspectives. Additionally, cognitive biases such as confirmation bias and the availability heuristic can contribute to a reluctance to engage with gender-related topics. These biases can lead individuals to seek out information that confirms their existing beliefs and attitudes, and to avoid information that challenges or contradicts them. What about when it's one individual where the perception is that they dislike women simply because that person notices when certain women are engaging in self-defeating behavior? It is important to approach any individual perception of dislike or bias with a willingness to understand their perspective and motivations. In the case of an individual who perceives another as disliking women because they discuss the women they see that are engaging in self-defeating behavior and want people to succeed, it may be helpful to explore their underlying beliefs and assumptions about gender dynamics and the role of men and women in society. It is possible that the individual may hold certain biases or stereotypes about women, such as the belief that women are inherently more emotional or dependent than men. This can lead to the perception that women are more likely to be unhappy or in need of help, and may also contribute to a sense of superiority or condescension towards women. It is important to challenge and address these biases, and to work towards a more equitable and respectful view of gender dynamics. At the same time, it is important to acknowledge the positive intent behind the individual's desire to help women who are struggling. It may be helpful to explore alternative ways in which they can channel this desire, such as through volunteering or advocacy work that supports women's empowerment and well-being. Ultimately, addressing perceptions of bias or dislike towards women or men requires a combination of self-reflection, education, and open communication. By approaching the issue with empathy and a willingness to learn and grow, it is possible to create a more equitable and inclusive society where individuals of both sexes can more easily thrive.